Today, we are diving into a conflict that's brewing under the surface of the tech world, and it could totally change how we build and share software. And no, this isn't about killer robots or anything like that. It's about something way more immediate: quality, trust, and the code that runs, well, pretty much everything.
And it all starts right here, in these tight-knit communities, the ones built around really complex, really important tools like Kubernetes. Something's going wrong. What used to be a hub for serious innovation is now turning into a battleground. And the enemy? It's this new, incredibly frustrating thing that's just flooding the internet. The villain in our story even has a name, and it's not a very nice one. It's called AI Slop. It's a term that's been bubbling up in developer forums for a while now, and honestly, it just perfectly captures the whole problem.
So, what is it exactly? Well, think of AI Slop as the digital version of junk mail. You know, it looks like a real project, it sounds like a real project, but once you look under the hood, there's just nothing there. It's software that wasn't built to solve a real problem. It was just kind of generated, usually to get some quick attention or social media points.
And you know what's wild? Experienced developers are starting to see a very clear pattern. There's a whole formula to it. It usually kicks off with some flashy AI-generated name. Then you'll see a forum post that looks exactly like 10 others, linking to a code repository that's practically empty, and a shiny new website that was clearly thrown together in an afternoon.
And this quote from one developer really just hits the nail on the head. The frustration isn't about using AI. Everybody's using AI. The real problem is the dishonesty. Pretending that a simple wrapper around an AI is some kind of groundbreaking new tool you built from scratch. See, for engineers who've been doing this for a while, the AI's fingerprints are all over this stuff. You see things like really generic, unhelpful comments on every single line of code, or the exact same setup commands across dozens of totally different projects. It's this patterned sameness that's a dead giveaway that a human didn't really put any thought or care into it. Okay, but this next part is absolutely crucial to understand. The community isn't fighting against AI. They're not anti-progress. They are anti-lazy. I mean, listen to this. This is the kind of thing you hear from the very same engineers who are complaining about the slop. They use AI tools like GitHub Copilot all day, every day. For them, AI is an essential part of the modern toolkit. It's supposed to make good developers even better. And this chart here, it just lays out the two sides of the coin perfectly. On the one hand, you've got AI as this amazing assistant, helping skilled engineers get more done faster. But on the other hand, you have AI being used as a substitute for skill, to just pump out projects that the creator doesn't really understand and has zero intention of ever supporting. So when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to one word: ownership. In the world of open source software, there's this unwritten social contract. If you share a tool with the community, you're expected to stand by it, to fix bugs. But if you didn't really build it, and you don't even understand how it works, well, you can't be a responsible owner. And this quote right here, man, it just captures the real human cost of all this slop. It's not just annoying noise. It's a thief. It steals other people's most valuable resource, their time. And over time, that just completely erodes the trust that these amazing communities are built on. So, as you can probably imagine, all this frustration has kicked off a huge debate inside these communities about what, if anything, we should actually do about it. And this is the big question that everyone is wrestling with right now. Should there be a new rule, a new kind of etiquette that says, hey, you have to be upfront about how much AI was involved in making your project? And there are some really strong arguments on both sides. On the one hand, yeah, disclosure would help separate the serious projects from the junk. It would act as a heads up and maybe rebuild some of that lost trust. But then again, the counterpoints are just as strong. I mean, where do you even draw the line? If I use Copilot to write a few lines of code, does that count? What if an expert uses AI but then meticulously reviews every single line? It gets messy fast.
All right, let's zoom out for a second, because what's happening in this one corner of the tech world, it's not an isolated problem. It's actually more like an early warning sign for the entire industry, the canary in the coal mine, so to speak.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. AI didn't create this problem. It just supercharged it. We've always had low-effort copy-and-paste projects. The only difference is that AI made it 1,000 times easier and faster to create them at scale.
I mean, think about it. We've seen this movie before, right? Remember that flood of flimsy apps that were built with no-code tools? Or all those startups that were just cheap clones of another successful company? It's the exact same story.
A new technology lowers the barrier to create something, and suddenly you're drowning in low-quality stuff.
And that is why this seemingly niche debate matters so much to all of us. The Kubernetes community literally manages the backbone of the internet. For them, things like reliability and accountability, they aren't just nice ideas, they're everything. So when they start sounding the alarm about a threat to quality, you can bet that same alarm is going to start ringing in every other field very, very soon.
And this quote just drives home how urgent this feels on the ground. The people who actually care about quality, who care about collaboration, feel like they are losing the fight against a fire hose of junk. The signal is just getting totally drowned out by the noise.
So, is it a lost cause? Is it all over? Not even close. The community is already brainstorming some really concrete ways to fight back and take back their spaces.
So people are building a new game plan for quality. 4 big ideas are really getting traction. First, just tag your work. Be honest about using AI. It builds trust. Second, flip the script. Add a special no AI tag for purely human-made projects. Third, raise the bar. Require good documentation. The new rule is, if you can't explain how it works, you can't post it. And finally, change how things are moderated. Judge a tool on whether it's actually useful, not on where the code came from.
Because in the end, this whole thing really just boils down to a timeless truth. It doesn't matter if you're using a hammer, a keyboard, or a giant AI model. The tools never determine the quality of the work. It's the craftsmanship, it's the ownership, it's the care that the creator puts into it. That's what matters. And that leaves us with a really critical question for the future. As these AI tools get better and better, telling the difference between human work and slop is going to get a lot harder. So we all have to ask ourselves, in a world that's about to be filled with artificial creations, how are we going to recognize and reward and encourage real, genuine human effort and care?